If your team got guaranteed money, tell them call me.
Make me say, my.
I done been around the world. Yeah, I was made for this.
Player performance.
We're live. It's punchy. Why lose combat? We're finally here. Now, I've been talking about this for a couple weeks. Jay's been driving me nuts with this. Getting a little podcast here. I'm going to call it a combat cast going forward, though. More importantly, I always stress with you guys, we do this for real, on a different level. A little background about myself. I had over 20 amateur fights as a boxer. I boxed from the age of 13 to 25 when I had my kids. I opened up my own gym now. I've managed and trained professional and amateur fighters, dealt with some of the biggest promoters in the world when it comes to boxing. So again, when we do this, we do it for real. That's going to introduce you to my guest here, my partner when it comes to this. When I always talk about the baddest crew in combat sports, this is kind of who I'm referencing here. I got Rudy Laveau, the Black Widow. All right? Rudy's an amateur fighter in MMA, not to mention bare knuckle fighting championship. He's got experience doing this. Big Rue, 6 feet, 200 pounds, tattooed to the gills. You know what it is. Rue, want to welcome you aboard. Just say hello to everybody. Let everybody know what you're about, who you are, and what we're here to do.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Man, like you said, we're here trying to give you guys a little bit more info on what's going down with the combat sports world right now. I got a big weekend coming up this weekend. Like you were saying before, we do this for real in real life. It's not just something that we're watching on TV. We live the combat lifestyle, and we hopefully give you like a little better edge into what we see from how we see it, and hopefully it'll help you out win some money and we get this thing going.
My boy. Going into it this weekend, man. Like again. You know, I've been talking with Jay, and listen, I've been gambling since, again, I actually started when I was 18, 19 years old. And the reason why I claim I'm not a world champion is because of J.A. Cavalier. So I walked into his office, and it's hard to run in the morning when you got a couple dollars in your pocket. So on top of that, that's when the gambling stuff come into. Now, listen, especially with combat sports, it's way different than, you know how it is. The lines are going to be different. The information, the edges we're going to be getting is different than basketball, baseball, football.
Yes, sir.
A lot of times we're looking at odds of minus 300. We got to put them in parlays. But when you put these guys in parlays, I don't want to say it's kind of easy, but Rue, you've seen what we've done. You know what's capable of doing. And when you know these guys like we know them, some of those odds aren't even enough. Minus 500 might not be enough. But we're going to try to give you guys on top of the edges, over expected striking, etc., takedown defense percentage, ground control. We'll have all that. But I really want you guys to get an idea of how fighters, of how coaches, of how we look at it, and how we apply that to what we're doing gambling. Now, you said we had a big weekend coming up. Real quick, I got my boy Vito Milnecki in boxing going against Gamil Gadzielik. Now, little Vito, I've known since he was 8 years old. When I trained in Elite Heat in Newark, Big Vito owned that gym. He's actually in the main event at Prudential Center now. So I've known little Vito since maybe 6, 7 years old. Minus 1,600 come Saturday. Again, no value in that. Don't lay 2 G's to make $100. But at the same time, you know, we know Vito intimately. I know Vito. I know his father well. We're going to win this fight. So this comes into us of how do we get that so we can make it worth our while. Moving on to bare knuckle, UFC, which is kind of your expertise here in regards to bare knuckle, UFC, all that. We've got a big one here. Now, this is a unique situation where the odds are actually close. We've got Khalil Roundtree, Jamal Hill. Speak to me. Now, the best part is this, real quick, I'll tell you guys. Rudy sent me last night who he likes. Did it in typical fighter fashion, And guess what? I'll tell you guys, it's opposite everything I like. So everything he says, I'm opposite. Let's hear it. This is the reason why we're doing this, so we could actually get an idea from both perspectives. Now, we got Jamal Hill going against Khalil Roundtree. You said you like Roundtree?
I do, man. Roundtree, obviously, both fighters kind of inactive over the past couple of years. I think they only both fought one time last year. So, obviously, Roundtree having the bigger fight against Pereira, coming off of that, that's going to be obviously a good stepping stone, getting right back to work, trying to challenge for that title again. And then you got Hill on the other side as well with the fight last year, where he got knocked out against Prohaska. So
now, these guys are similar to me though, in the way that they do fight and similar kind of lives or careers. Excuse me. You said it yourself. We had Hill get knocked out by Jerry. Now, listen, I'll be honest with you. I hate Jerry. I don't think I'm not going to knock no fighter. I have all respect. But enough with if you're doing all that, you better be better than what you've been doing. I don't have a lot of value in Jerry. Now, also, too, it goes the other way in that you've got Khalil Roundtree, who I think in this situation is going to be a little overvalued because he did do well against Pereira. Now,
he did. Beautiful against
Pereira.
And
I'm not going to knock that. But then you saw what happened to Pereira next fight. It's kind of like, I'm not knocking that, and Anklev's a great fighter, but it's kind of where you have to start determining the value of these guys in the public of how they perceive them. The sports betting market is not like, the combat sports betting market's not like NFL, where you've got almost everybody betting on it. You've got more fans than anything, and not guys that are deep into the gambling aspect of it. And they will be swayed by that. And you know as well as I know, you've been with JA, sharp money, smart money. We've got a lot of sharp money actually coming in on a hill, which means, some guys in the know like him early in the week. I think that's going to come back towards the end of the week. I think Roundtree's money will come up a little bit as the public gets behind him and go, oh, that's the guy that fought Alex Pereira. But in this case, again, I do like Roundtree. And you know what? I was the guy that after his last fight, I always kind of make mental notes and then go, you know what? I'm going to ride him the next fight. And then he walks into a guy that
really tough last fight.
And he did great. And unfortunately, I feel there's going to be a drop off. No official picks, but again, this is the good thing about that. You like Roundtree, I like Hill. This is the reason why we're having these conversations, doing this podcast, so you guys can see that eventually what you and I will do is work it through, and we'll get to either a decision on that fight. So now we're going to go back to a situation that we're lucky with the co-main event now. We're going to go Ignacio Bahamandez going against Rafael Faze. Unfortunately, you know what I hate about the podcast? I can't pronounce 90% of these guys' names.
Hey,
and everybody in the
I was having
comments,
the same issue as well.
everyone in the comments rips me. You don't know how to say Miriam Dufasali, So that's why we've all got nicknames. Fighters have nicknames. You've got Wu. I'm Punchy by the time, But in any case, you like Fiziev. I like Bahamandez. Talk to me. Why do you like Fiziev? What do you like about him? What do you see about him? I'll tell you what I like next.
Obviously, again, coming off of a really tough fight, man, where he, again, has to bounce back or if he wants to stay up at the top of the food chain, he's going to have a good showing. Really, again, tough fighter, high output, really strong cardio, can wrestle also. I like him bouncing back. Again, I think it's what is it? How do you pronounce Bahamandez?
Bahamandez?
Yeah, something like that.
Ignacio. I go to the first name when I can't do the last name. I just go first name.
But I was looking at the prior losses to Faze, and those are top of the food chain fighters. I still think he can compete at that level. I think he pulls this one out this weekend.
You know what? Fazeev's one of my guys. One of those guys, again, I circle. So when I do see him coming out, I go, you know what? That's a guy I want to take. Unfortunately, he's going against Ignacio Bahamandez, who a couple traits I like in him. I have a theory, and I used to tell Jay about this 20 years ago. If your father was good at something, not great, but good. Patrick Mahomes' father was an MLB player.
Yeah, he was.
Peyton Manning's father, I know, Archie, but in the NFL, not as good. If your father's good, Floyd Mayweather's father. If you're good, he's a professional. The son is amazing. Now, it's conversely, if the father's great, the son stinks. Ignacio's father was a kickboxer. Now, also, too, I'm a little biased on this, and I have a little fetish for tall, long fighters. Ignacio's 6'3". He's got a huge reach advantage, about 5 inches. Rafael's about 5'8". Now, when you're striking, that does matter. Now, I always say, listen, a good little man will beat a bad big man, but a good big man will beat a good little man. Usually is the way it goes in that regard. You're a tall, lanky fighter, man. You know what it's like to be able to put those guys at the end of your power, at the end of your jab, at the end of that right hand. I see you switch sometimes with southpaw. You know the power you get out of those long arms and that distance as opposed to inside. Again, Bahamandez, he had a couple of highlight reel knockouts. Fiziev, same situation. This is what happens when you get two really good matched up fights that, we're going to have opposites almost on this. And this is what we actually needed from UFC. Lately, it's kind of been throw this guy to the fire and etc.
This could be a good
these
card
are good fights.
Yes, sir.
Now,
and if he's able to close that distance, we're good. That's the biggest thing. Is as long as if he can implement the game plan, get in there and close the distance and make it his style of fight, he's going to have a good showing and hopefully come out with a W. But hey, we'll see this weekend.
That's why they fight the fights, That's beautiful about it. Now, this last one here, I always have to do this. I was a heavyweight. I know you're hovering around 200 pounds. I'm sure you fought at heavyweight. You're a big boy like us.
Correct.
When we walk in the gym, we're the heavyweights, all right? So we know what it is. When we spar, the gym stops for a minute, all right? No matter who we are, we throw heavier leather. We got Curtis Blades going against Riziev Kunv. Again, another guy that's going to kill me with the name. This is interesting as hell because I'll tell you, there's a couple dynamics to this. Big line on Curtis Blades. I've always been kind of partial to Blades. I do like Blades. good wrestler, heavy hands, great cardio. He fights out of Denver, which is something that guys don't realize that will help your cardio. You know what it is. I was actually watching a documentary the other night, Unrivaled, with about the hockey fights with Darren McCarty and the Red Wings, and these
Those are
guys
the
came to
days
me
right
and said,
there.
exactly. These
Those are
guys
the
said I
days.
could skate all day, but I fought for 2 minutes and I was dying. And I'm like, you know the difference, especially as a fighter. You could be in great shape. You're not in fight shape. Fighting shape is a whole different ball game. You know, you can run 10 miles a day, but when you get in there, you need a whole different type of gas. Now, Kunv is a guy that he's making his UFC debut. I don't know if you're familiar with him. I really wasn't. I'll be honest with you. He's a fat guy. He's a big,
Okay.
chunky guy. He's been popped for steroids to the gills, I think, over 5 or 6 times. Just keeps popping for PEDs. It looks like they don't work, whatever he's taking. Gas is out usually. Unfortunately, though, he's got those heavy Russian hands. That's always going to be an X factor. From Dagestani area. So this is where I kind of overthink myself. And I go, well, there's 2 things that's going to happen. UFC wants a big heavyweight in Dagestan. That's a good market for them. Are they feeding, Curtis Blades to him that we don't realize? Or are they doing Blades a favor and giving him somebody that, he should be able to handle here? Now, you liked Kunv. What did you like about him a little bit?
I mean, obviously, I'm going to go off of the idea with his background. Hopefully, he has a strong wrestling background. I saw that he did have 2 submission victories out of his 12 wins. But again, being a heavyweight and being able to wrestle is super rare.
Exactly.
A strong wrestler. So again, and Blades can wrestle also. In the losses that he has had, or the people that have given him trouble, are more on the striker side. It wasn't from wrestling. So if it does go to the ground, hopefully Kunv could control it there. But like you said, man, heavy hands. The people who have beaten him with Aspinall and in other fights, sometimes the striking causes problem for Blades, and I think he's going to have a weak chin this week, man, and I think he does get knocked out.
You're right, because that's another thing that kind of helped me from pulling the button on Blades, is that when you fight guys like Aspinall and you get that experience, it goes one of 2 ways. Some guys take off after it, and then it makes them that much better.
Correct.
Some guys kind of just shell, and you don't really know. And, this is a situation that Blades might be that type of guy. Fighting's a hard business, I mean, it really is. And you get that shot, it's hard to get up for the next fight. Hell, I couldn't get up for amateur fights because Jay was putting 4 G's a week in my pocket. It's hard to wake up in the morning and find that motivation. Now, I know he's a professional, but he's still a man. You know what it's like. Fighters are going to go through it. Coming off that Aspinall, he's been to the mountaintop, but at the same time, that could be a negative or a positive. Again, the big thing here is that for a guy like, in a situation like this, I would lean to you because Kunv's plus 500. You're better off for plus 400. He's plus a big line.
Yeah, he's definitely. I was looking at the underdog, and hopefully he steals it this weekend.
And this is a situation that guys love those dogs, and this is a situation where you take that dog there. You're looking at heavyweights. You've always got that knockout potential. Like you said, he's coming off the Aspinall stuff. This is a situation that you're better off backing Kunv, even though I might not personally like, Kunv to win it. Value-wise, the smarter way to move. Let's go Kunv. I think he's plus 300 to 500 on that. That's a good look on that. Now, that's UFC for the most part. Again, we kind of keep this simple with this stuff. I just wanted to get our beaks wet, so to speak, here. Now, a couple other things here that we got going on. Boxing this weekend. I believe we got bare knuckle coming up. I saw your bare knuckle picks. Now, bare knuckle's crazy for me. I mean,
okay.
You have got more experience in that. Now, I'll be honest with you. 5 years ago, us boxing guys would look down on bare knuckle. Now I'm calling you saying, let me get into it. So it's definitely picking up. But betting-wise, we had a big win. We had Ben Rothwell back in January, plus the 200 on that.
I saw that one. I actually took that one as well.
There you go, right? But
Yes,
I
sir.
feel it's almost like every fight could be a coin toss when you've got, these bare knuckles. One I wanted to bust your balls about specifically, I want to tell a quick story. 17 years old, I take my dad's minivan, take my brother out of high school. He's 14. We drive down to Atlantic City, UFC 53, for Andrei Arlovsky, Paul Buentello.
Okay.
So I've got a soft spot in my heart for Arlovsky. He's making his his BKFC debut over here. You're going against him. Why?
Oh, Copeland, man, has fought bare knuckle before. and he's had 3 fights. It's such a big difference. The step over, and some people can take it, some can't. And that's nothing against Arlovsky, one of the toughest fighters I've ever seen. I grew up watching him, but it's a big change. And it's a big change. Now you're fighting someone who's already had 3 fights, who already has felt it, and understands what it feels like to get hit by a bare knuckle hand, and then also to give them, and how the fight's just different. This isn't UFC. There's no wrestling. So experience is huge. Experience is huge in the cage. And again, it's not even a boxing match because you're allowed different type of moves. You're allowed to clinch and dirty box as well inside. And again, experience is going to play a big part. I think Copeland's a tough motherfucker, and I think he comes out with the win. Obviously, you got 2 guys, 2 UFC vets, 2 MMA vets, and again, they're fighting each other. It's going to be awesome. 2 good names for the sport, but I think Copeland comes out on top this week.
Another good look. Now, I wanted you to real quick talk a little bit more about that. Now, bare knuckle, you have experience that. I tell my fighters, you're doing something that 0.1% of the world will never do, stepping into a ring. Then you come along and you go, I'm going to do that 0.0001, and you go bare knuckle.
Yes,
now,
sir.
you've done both.
Yes,
what
sir.
are some of the real differences that you've experienced from doing both?
Fighting the style you have to be with boxing so conservative, and it's not really towards the heavyweights because one punch could change the whole fight, but even fighting smaller guys and everything, it's conservative, obviously lasting, because you're not going to finish a fight right away. You got these gloves on, so now I take the gloves off, one punch could end it right away. You get cut or you catch it right in the wrong spot by the eye or the nose or break your nose, it's over. So being aggressive, being able to close distance. In a boxing match, I might sit back a little bit because, again, the fight's going to go longer. I'm going to play with my distance. If in bare knuckle, if I can close distance really well and be aggressive, it could change the fight right away. And they're 5 2-minute rounds. So you got to get to work, got to get to the point. The circle ring, you got to be able to move in the ring. Is so much smaller than a big octagon. Again, man, being experienced, having 3 fights is going to play a big part this weekend. Not saying that Arlovsky isn't training and doing everything that he can to be prepared. I'm sure he's, Hall of Fame vet, but it's different ball game. It's a totally different sport. Boxing, UFC, now into bare knuckle.
One of the things I realized that I think guys forget about in bare knuckle and compared to boxing is the defense. Gloves, 8 ounces, 10 ounces, those are your protection. I could put this up here.
This whole thing. Here you
can block that. You don't have that in bare knuckle. I could take this. I could punch your punch with my shot. Bare knuckle, you don't want to do that. Bare knuckle, you hit the top of the head, you break your own hand. You can find different ways to cut. It's a whole different ball game,
Big
especially
one with
gambling.
Is you really want to get your elbows up high. So imagine punching the elbows. If I'm blocking here, now I'm blocking more. And if you punch my elbow, you're breaking your hand on my elbow.
And then you know what happens.
Quick. What's that?
You stop punching. I've gone for a body shot. You hit a guy in his elbow. I stop punching. I'm not going to throw that punch again. That's what happens. So huge market.
You still got to keep going.
You don't have a choice, right? Now, that's why I really want to bring you in. Bare knuckle, there's a huge market. I kind of want to start exploiting here because, again, most 90% of these people don't even know you can bet on it. It's still kind of coming out here.
It's a small window. It's weird because I don't know how it is where you're at, but obviously, even if the fights are in a different state or wherever, as long as they're in the United States, I've had success betting on them. When it goes overseas, sometimes I can't make the bets. But if it's in the United States, I'm able to use like a sports betting app. I'm able to find BKFC. And honestly, usually they open it up the same day. So it's not like boxing, which might be open a week out or something like that. They'll open the books up the same day and usually a couple hours early. And then as far as down here in Florida, once the fights start, they take the fights off. So you have a small window, but it's there still. And you can still make money as long as you're active and you're watching as far as when they're opening it up and then searching if it's coming up BKFC or just type in bare knuckle and then find it either way. But that's how I've had successes with finding it. And I have no problem, but you just got to know when they're going to list it.
Yeah, some guys have had problems with it. And I tell guys, same thing with the day of. Even with this, the podcast that we're doing here, I was talking with Jay. A lot of the problem with us doing this in my time frame is that, for the fights this weekend, the weigh-ins are Friday morning. So, even all this can change. And UFC left and right has cancellations, guys not making weight, this changing that. So that's kind of why, You know, I was figuring out the time frame and when to do that. Same thing with bare knuckle. You know, it comes out, and listen, one site will have minus 180, the next site will have minus 400 on the same fight. So, ton of opportunities if you can find it. Again, we're just trying to give you a little bit of an edge here. This is an edge that you're not going to find anyplace else except for Why Lose Combat. You got real
I'm gonna grab
fighters
you real quick before we get out of there. I know that I sent you those 3 fights on the BKFC. You only wanted to highlight one of them, but did you notice the Kenzie Morrison versus Alex Davis fight?
I did.
So Kenzie Morrison this is a big fight also, is Tommy Morrison's son. And now they just signed him over from boxing, so he's making his BKFC debut this weekend also. So that's going to be good, man. He's going to have to – he obviously has a good boxing background. You know, your father was heavyweight champion of the world.
Goes back to my theory, right?
What's that? Yeah.
It goes back to my theory.
His father was really good.
His father was too good, but no. Dude, I love him.
But, yeah, so he's fighting this weekend. And then also the Soto Bonner fight. Tony Soto's a tough motherfucker, man. He had a real close fight against a buddy of mine, Tyler Goodjohn. And he's a good boxer. He's had, I think, 7 BKFC fights. The guy he's fighting against has had 4. I think he's going to be more experienced. He's going to win that fight also. So those are 2 more picks, man. I like Morrison and Soto also for BKFC this weekend.
I'm going to put those out. All your BKFC, we're going to ride with you straight up exclusively this weekend. I'll put those out for free for everybody. But, again, when you got experience and you got the resources that we have, like a guy like you use it. That's kind of what makes a good gambler and as opposed to these other guys out there. Again, we're doing this stuff for real. Now, let's kind of wrap this up here. We got this weekend. We got UFC coming up. I'm talking with you. I got a little 100-star monster I'm locking in here. Now, I don't do 100-star monsters all the time. I even told you a couple weeks back when I sent you the cards, 100-star monsters are the biggest ones. That's the reason I get out of bed in the morning. I got a nice little one coming up for UFC this Saturday that I'm going to back. So by all means, anybody that joins up with us, if we don't hit that 100-star monster, I give you another month on me. So again, we do this as real as the day is long. I'm not sitting here just giving you out games and crossing my fingers. When we're doing this, we're backing it. I'm playing it. Wu's playing it with us. This is what we're doing here. Again, UFC this weekend, bare knuckle. I'm going to have all those fights officially listed for everybody here. Make sure you're joining us. Make sure you're rocking with us. This is the first episode. Believe me, Wu, we got a ton more to come. I'm working on getting Wu some fights. So before you know it, we'll be doing a whole vlog of us out here.
We're going to make this shit happen. We're making it happen.
I promise you, man. I can't thank you enough. All respect to JA for making this happen. Don't forget, I can't thank JA enough. Why Lose Combat? Rue, the baddest crew in the business when it comes to combat sports bidding. I appreciate it, brother. I'll talk to you in a minute. Let's get it.
Next time.